Hi, it's Lauren and welcome back to my craft room. I'm so excited that today is another Whimsy release day. It's the last one for the month of February, and there are some really awesome new stamp sets and dies and a new paper pack that is probably my favorite thing from the release. So I am using that paper pack. It's called Bokeh Bliss on this fun kind of Mardi Gras theme card. I know Mardi Gras was just a few days ago, but I couldn't not make a Mardi Gras card using this stamp set. It's called Simply Stunning, and as you can see, I'm using the bokeh paper behind my lovely dancer, and I'm also using the new cube die to make these gold cubes as well as this little shaker here on the front. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions about how I made it, please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Here is a lot of the supplies I'll be using: the Simply Stunning stamp set, the cube die, bokeh paper, this rainbow inlaid die set, some shimmery gold paper, and Sparkle Blends Mardi Gras beads mix. It's beautiful, beautiful sparkle blends. I'm going to be using that scallop die cut on my Bokeh Bliss paper, and I use my cube die set to cut out the 3 largest of the separate cubes in this gold sparkle paper. I also cut out an additional 7 of the largest cubed out of some yellow cardstock that looked kind of goldish to me. I wanted it to match the gold as much as possible to kind of hide, because I'm going to be using these pieces in my shaker cube. So for the other 2 cubes, I just want to put those gold cutout pieces right back in. So I use some transparent tape on the back and place those pieces back in. And now I'm going to layer these 7 yellow pieces by just applying some wet glue and layering one of those cubes on top. And I'm going to repeat this until I've gone through all of those yellow cubes. And once that is done, I have the thickness I need for my little shaker cube. I am going to adhere some acetate to the front of my last glued on cube, and I am going to try and make sure that glue is a little bit dry so it's a little tacky, and then place that acetate sheet on top of that. Now the one I cut out of the gold sparkle paper is going to be the cover, so I am putting it on top of the other side of the acetate to hide any evidence of glue. And I am just going to set that aside to dry. So now I want to work on placement, and I know in order to figure out the placement I need to bring out my stamps. I am going to use the largest dancer with her beautiful feather outfit. I wasn't really sure how I wanted my layout to go, so I am just turning it portrait, turning it landscape, putting the blocks in different areas, looking at the different girls, and I finally settled on what I was planning to do anyway, was have my card in portrait with the largest feather, and she's going to be centered. So now I have some white cardstock, and I'm stamping my dancer in some alcohol marker friendly ink. I am going to bring out my sparkle blends to help me with my color inspiration, and I'm just pulling out some purples and gold tones, some skin color and green, and just to figure out how I'm going to color her in. So I'm using my PVs to color in all of my purple. I'm going to show you how I colored in this first feather. I start with my light, move to my medium, then to the dark, and then go back the other way, medium and light. I only have 2 tones for the green, so I start with the light, go to the darker, and then go back to the light to blend that out. So there is how I color all of the purple and green for this image. Now for the gold, I'm using my GYs. I am starting with GY1 and GY3, and going back and forth again with my 2 colors, light to dark, back to light to blend it out. Now I'm going to color in the jewels and the rest of the feathers and her bikini outfit, and then we are going to start on the skin tone. So I had originally started with this kind of caramel color. I wanted her to have more of a tan colored skin, but the more I was coloring, the more I was like, this looks now like a gold bodysuit. It's too similar to her gold bikini. So I'm going to bring out some kind of skin color tones with a more warmer undertone rather than an olive undertone. So now I'm going to bring in apricot and color that in a little more, as well as some of my FS colors to kind of warm up her skin so she looks a little more tan, and eventually I get to the skin color tone that I want and immediately regret that I didn't color in her whole body at the whole time at the same time, because now I have to color in the rest. Now for her hair, I originally was thinking it'd be fun to have a pop of red, but I just thought it was too bright and it would take away from the rest of the card, and also I didn't want her skin to look any more yellow than it was, so I decided to bring out my EBs, my earth browns, and color her hair. Again, starting with light, going into medium, and then the dark. So I'm applying layers to create my shadows and then going back the other way to blend it out. So now I'm bringing out some of that color and that shadow with my medium tone, and then I am going to color everything again with my lightest, which was EB2. The other two I used were EB3 and 4. All of my marker caps are on the screen, but if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. And once she is done, I'm going to add some lipstick, but I wanted to keep her smile bright and white. And I did go over the line a couple times, so I'm just bringing out my white gel pen to cover up any of those spots. And then I like to bring in my darkest color to add in some just like little freckle spots around the image. I'm only doing it on the feathers and the gold pieces of her outfit, just to add a little bit of texture and interest and make her have a little bit more fun and shape to the image. Now to bring in some more of that brightness, I am going to use my white gel pen just to add some highlight marks anywhere where I think light would hit, and just to brighten up those areas a little more. And once I'm happy with that, I am going to bring back my shaker now that it is dry, and I'm going to trim off the excess acetate. I started with my big scissors for some reason and then brought out my smaller snips because it's much easier to get right up to those die cut pieces and making sure I have a flush line of the acetate against the paper. So after I am done cutting that out, I will also use my paper snips to fussy cut my dancer here. So I am just cutting, leaving a small white border around her. That's just my favorite way to cut out images. And I will start again with the placement of everything onto my card. So I am layering everything, kind of getting an idea of where my shaker cube is going to go. And then now I'm bringing out my sparkle blends and I'm putting the pieces in the different areas of my shaker. I'm trying to limit the larger pieces and get more of those smaller little leaf style looking sequins, as well as these tiny little circles. And then some of those fun purple, they look kind of like half a mask kind of style size, and those like green little spiky ones. Anyway, there's a lot of different and really beautiful pieces in here, and I'm just trying to make sure it's not overcrowded so there's some room for movement, and that the large ones don't just keep everything from moving. I cut another piece of acetate using the die to guide me how to cut this piece, and then I adhered it to the back, again making sure my glue was a little tacky, and then trimmed off any excess. Now I am going to adhere it to my bokeh paper, again wanting to make sure the glue is a little tacky so it doesn't seep out everywhere, especially now because this is when it will really show. I am placing it towards the bottom center of my card, and I'm using my dancer just to help guide me where I should put it. Now the next largest block I am adhering directly onto the card background, just behind the shaker cube, and then I want to pop up the smaller of the cubes, so I am adding these thin dimensionals, and it is about half of the thickness of my shaker cube, which is really nice, so it'll allow me some excess room for layering. As you can see, I'm looking at how I need to apply my dimensionals to layer her on. So anything that is sticking to the cube on the left, I am doubling up on my dimensionals, and anything sticking to the cube on the right, I am only using one single dimensional as it is already popped up. That way she's as flush as possible and she won't be moving anywhere or be a little wobbly on the card. She's nice and secure. So I'm going to stick that down, and then I'm going to put a little bit of glue behind her foot because it was kind of sticking up on the large cube, and I'm going to use my clear block to help with pressure, but it wasn't enough, so now I am sitting and making sure her foot is secure. I am using a wink of Stella in clear just to add some fun glitter to anywhere on the gold on her outfit or her headdress, and now I am figuring out my sentiment. I die cut 2 strips from the Quick Strips die set, and I am stamping Simply Stunning using my VersaFine ink. This ink is great for stamping without worrying about having to stamp again. It's a nice ink, so I am stamping my sentiment with confidence. I have Simply that I'm going to have here on the left behind her headdress, and then Stunning on the bottom. So I am using some dimensionals to adhere simply, and it will layer directly behind her headdress, and then Stunning is going to be flush with my large cube, so I am going to double up on those as well. So I have one behind the sentiment, and then I cut one in half and doubled it up so it was flush against the edge of the cube there, making sure my sentiments are straight, and then I will snip off any excess just using some large scissors. And now that that is done, I'm almost ready to put everything together. I decide to use some black cardstock as my card base, so I cut and scored that. And now I'm going to use some wet glue to adhere this bokeh paper with all of my fun stuff on it to my card base, making sure it is nice and secure. And then for the final touches, I'm going to bring out my jewel picker, and I'm just going to pick up some of these small pink, green, and gold sequins just to add a little bit more to the card. It's already super shiny, but I wanted to add a little bit more color in the different spots, so I'm adding those fun sequins. Once I'm happy with the placement and the amount of sequins on my card, I'm just going to bring in my glue and lift up those sequins and adhere them down. I really love how this card turned out. I think it is so fun and cheery and happy. It really reminds me of Fat Tuesday and the fun I have with my friends on it. Except for this year, I do miss them. We usually go out to eat for Fat Tuesday. But I hope you enjoyed this shaker card tutorial. I hope if you did, you'd hit like, and if you're new and you like my content, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.